This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. So here we go again. Another week, Steph, has come and it has gone, and we're back for a captain's run for round number 4. 4 rounds into Super League already. Unbelievable.
Crazy, mate. Crazy, but it ain't good looking forward to rugby on a Thursday.
It's phenomenal, mate. I have to say as well, you know, we've had a great first 3 rounds, and there's some belting fixtures that we're going to be talking through on this episode of Captain's Run. So let's kick off with the first one straight away, and of course it is tonight. Yes, Captain's Run. There you can see it. Hull FC taking on the Lee Leopards, head to head in Super League history. 5-4 in the Leopards' favour. That's an interesting one for you, Steph. Getting the better over these guys. And look at the last 5 meetings, 4 going the way of the Leopards. Now, here's one for you, Steph. Right, the aggregate score across those 5 games: Hull FC 22, Lee Leopards 34. Could be in for some tries tonight, mate.
Yeah, we could, and you know, we'll probably go on to the teams in a moment, but yeah, there's attacking both sides, isn't there? With Hull FC's improved form, and yeah, I think it's going to be which defence is going to be better on the day. To be honest with you, who gets this one? So yeah, really intriguing fixture this.
Yeah, I mean, you can see there the defences at the moment thus far this season, not an awful lot in it at all, just 1.5% between the two. Lee's highest ever score against Hull FC came last year, 54 points to 4. It's also the widest margin they've ever had on the Lee, on Hull FC as well. Conversion, 75 plays, 62.5%. Penalties, 16-10. Hull, you know, having a few issues making sure they're keeping the penalties to a minimum this year. And of course, let's not forget Asiata had his yellow card as well. We mustn't forget about that. We'll get to the teams, like you say, in a moment. But yeah, this for me, Hull, great start to the season. Nobody would have had them 2 wins from the opening 3, would they?
No, definitely not. And, you know, this is a much changed Hull side from what Lee faced when we did put that score on them last year. Lots of Lee players in the Hull contingent as well. So that's going to add to the spiciness of this one, I feel. So, yeah, really, really intriguing fixture. Both sides are going to have to be on form to get the victory tonight, Dave.
Spot on. Well, let's hear from inside the camps, as we always do on Captain's Run.
They are going to Caesar, and he is going to take the one, and he gets the kick away. And all of a sudden,
at the end of the day, it's a 2 points up for grabs every week, and they're hard to win. You know, there's some really standout teams at the moment who are winning. Reasonably easy at the end of the day, and then there's the rest of us trying to catch them. So it's 2 points at the end of every game. Yeah, it's critical.
It's going to be a big game for them, but also a big game for us. You know, we've got off to a good start that's been well deserved, I feel, and they've had a great win last week. So they're only two out of the 3 wins, so they've had a great start themselves. So they get a win there, and they're on equal points with us. You know, so they've been flying at the start of this year and playing some good rugby.
They're a very skillful side. Lachlan Lamb leads them around the park very well. Their hooker's probably one of the better players in the competition. You know, can play 13, plays hooker, and then they bring the other guy off the bench who's very sharp and very fast, and they put you under pressure through the middle of the field. They've got a lot of skill out wide, a lot of speed, and they've won 3 out of 3. So they're no mugs. They're going to be hard to beat.
O'Brien. And Lamb's coming on at pace as well. He gets a lovely pass away to Myler, whose step is wonderful. And he left Rouget grabbing at thin air.
I mean, no apologies at all for showing that one. Again, a beautiful try there from Hanley. Great performance from Yamala Hanley last time out. Steph, you'll be hoping that Mr. Hanley can repeat that performance against FC tonight.
Yeah, he was on fire against Catalan. Fantastic play, and he's really growing into that centre position, Amila. So, yeah, we really need him tonight. It's going to be interesting to see whether Armstrong comes back in the team after his illness last week. And also a big one for Lee is Robbie Mulhern missing. So that big forward pack of Hull FC will be looking to dominate up the middle.
Yeah, a 20-man squad selected from Hull FC. I think they're trying to get Knight selected for this, Liam Knight. Whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. I've not heard anything to the contrary. John Cartwright was saying in his press conference that he expected Knight to feature, that he's come over fit. So be interested to see if there has been dispensation given for Liam Knight to start tonight. Very interesting indeed on that one. You'll see also there in the squad, let's just have a quick look. A couple of changes have been announced. Jed Cartwright, he returns from injury, so that's a big bonus. Will Hutchinson and Sam Esser also coming into the side. Ed Chamberlain, Deneve Ballenforth, Will Gardner and Ryan Westerman are the players that are out for Hull FC. As for the Lee Leopards, listening to Adrian Lamb's press conference, doubts over Armstrong for this one, even though he's in the squad. And you say this all the time, Lamb does tend to put players in the squad and give them every opportunity, but he did suggest that Armstrong perhaps will not be playing tonight.
Yeah, and if he's not right, I don't think we should risk him, based on the way Bailey Hodgson played last week. There's no need to risk him. I thought Bailey had a really good game. And it'd be interesting to see whether the likes of Andrew Bradrock comes into the side with Mulhern dropping out, another debutant potentially. And the debutants have fired this year for Lee.
Yeah, he did hint at that. I think Badrock will probably feature. I just noticed that when I was sipping my coffee, at one with my feminine side, just realised that I've got the my little daughter's princess mug. Okay, cheers, everybody. Anyway, we carry on. But no, look, I think for me, it's an intriguing game. Hull FC got off to a great start. No doubt about that whatsoever. Lee have been getting stronger. I mean, that performance against Catalan had class written all over it. Really interesting match this. Again, we wax lyrical over those new signings for the Lee Leopards. Perhaps, like you say, we get a view of Badrock as well tonight, which will be very good. Will be very good indeed for us to see that. The two players that are picked out for this is the halfbacks. I think it'd be wrong not to. Caesar, for me, thus far this season has been very good indeed. And when I say good, the clutch moments in games he's come through. He's very impressive against the Catalan Dragons. He got the decisive drop goal against Huddersfield in that tight affair last week. Both of these two setting up tries for fun, 4 apiece this far in. We know Caesar kicks more. Lamb does allow Gareth O'Brien more often than not to take the lead in terms of guiding them around the field. But actually, those aren't bad stats in terms of Lachlan Lamb this season. But I know you've got he's probably not the best in terms of finding ground and splitting the fullback and the winger, etc. But both busy on the ball. But here's an interesting one, Steph, as I bring you in to talk about these two players. From an offensive perspective, I think both of these tonight will have a big part to play in who comes out on top. But defensively, very interesting. 77.7% tackle efficiency from Aidan Caesar this season. Now, that isn't good. Lamb, very, for a halfback, 92.1, nothing wrong with that. So perhaps an opportunity, not necessarily in attack, but in defence, where Lee are concerned. Do they target Caesar?
Oh, 100% with the stats like that. I mean, to stop Caesar, you need to tire him out. So Lee needs to run at Caesar all day, especially with that tackle efficiency. That'll be something that Lamb's definitely highlighted post-game for the players to look at. Pre-game, not post-game. So, yeah, massive opportunity there for Lee, and we need to get pressure on him and stop him dominating play. I think that's one of the key game breakers for this one, Dave.
Well, there's a couple of records on the line as well tonight. Gareth O'Brien 6 points shy of 1,500 in his career. That's incredible for Gareth O'Brien. Do you fancy him getting those 6 tonight, mate?
Hopefully so, especially if he's goal kicking. We can. I'd like to think we'll be getting a few tries. So yeah, you wouldn't bet against it, would you?
You wouldn't, and he's in great form, Gaz O'Brien. He's in great form, and of course he is a future guest on In Conversation. So that's happening. But unfortunately, he's had a few childcare issues, which has delayed that by a week. But we will be getting Gareth O'Brien sat down for In Conversation. So you members out there, look forward to seeing that. And as announced this week, Tony Smith is on the way as well. That's a great coup, isn't it, Steph, for the channel?
Yeah, I mean, right up there with the all-time best Super League coaches for me, given what he's done and what he's achieved in the game. To get him is a real coup, Dave, and that's going to be a really good conversation.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I'll be asking him a lot of questions, both in terms of the present game, his career, everything there. Look forward to that. Announcements coming this week as to when that will debut. Right. Anyway, we saw, of course, across the screen at the bottom where the predictions have gone. Nobody went FC, if you recall. Everybody thinking Lee will win, but obviously differences of opinion in terms of the final scores. Right, okay, let's jump forward now to Friday night. Castleford Tigers taking on the Salford Red Devils. Now, we did give caution in weekly that, you know, there was the potential, and we'll see the squads in a minute, there was the potential that Salford could field a great squad. They've done that. We'll take a look at that in a moment. However, that said, strength is one thing on paper. At the moment, from an emotional perspective, from a whatever you want to say, a real tight knit group, it just doesn't feel right at the moment, Salford. Yeah. So even though they've picked a really good team, like I said, we'll get to that in a moment. Interesting. Let's just quickly though go through the stats first and foremost, and then I'll bring you in, Steph. Starting with this one, 33-21 in the favour of Castleford in the history of Super League. That's an interesting one, to say the least. That said, the last 4 meetings have gone the way of the Red Devils. The average score in the last 5 games has been Salford 27, Castleford 19. So again, you know, tries potentially could be in the making tonight. Very, very tight indeed between these two sides. Of course, both of them can't buy a win at the moment, but looking at that, Castleford have gone over the whitewash more. So Castleford at the moment in attacking phases seem to be a little bit better at this moment in time than the Salford Red Devils. Tackle efficiency 89% to 86.5. Conversion efficiency, just the one kick, 1 from 1 for Sneedy, 80% for the Castleford Tigers. Penalties 20-25 in the favour of Salford. And let's not forget as well, Salford have had 3 yellow cards already this season. So discipline is going to be really important for Salford tonight. Your thoughts on this one, Steph?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with discipline. Both sides have been a bit sloppy around the ruck, to say the least. So I can see there'll be, unless both sides get on top of it, there's going to be plenty of penalties in this one. Interesting, the team Salford's named a lot stronger than we actually thought they would be able to do, which is great because hopefully that'll make this a bit more of a competitive game. And I'm predicting a real tight one here at the Jungle. I think it's going to be a real tussle, and it's a shame this clashes with another fixture, doesn't it, with the KR Saints game. So otherwise I'd have been watching this one, but yeah, really, really interesting to see what happens on game night here, Dave.
Well, everybody went the Tigers. You can see that at the bottom of the screen. You know, Earl, Joel, non-members and yourself going by 1-8. The rest of us going 9-17. Not much love for Salford, but the squad that Salford have picked, which we'll get to in a moment, is strong enough to get a job done. But Danny Maguire's limped in terms of the Salford predicament.
Let's see what Danny's I feel for the players and the coaches. I feel for the fans as well. I feel for the Salford fans. You know, they're passionate and just want to support the team, but obviously behind the scenes it's a little bit of a mess. So I get it. I've seen there's been instances throughout my playing career where clubs have been struggling, and you know, you've heard of potential strikes and stuff. And I'm not sure. You look at again. I wish them well. I everybody wants to see a successful, well-run Salford team. I think they add to the competition, but at the minute, obviously there's a lot of not great press surrounding it. So, yeah, we'll just have to be prepared and ready for whatever's thrown at us.
So Danny Maguire there, pretty much saying what we all said. We posted as well on our socials the email that was sent to the Salford Red Devils fans before we go into the squads. You'd have had a chance to read that, Steph. didn't really give us any more information that we didn't already know. If you were a Salford fan receiving that email, what would your reaction have been?
Yeah, it's a frustration, I think, is the biggest thing, because they've got a good team, haven't they, Salford? And everyone just wants to see everything resolved and just get back to playing rugby. That's all anybody wants. And I think it's just the fear of the unknown. And until something's done, it's not done. But yeah, just to get the same message. And I'm sure Salford want to share more than what they're actually sharing. But it's just incredibly frustrating, Dave, I'd say.
We called it on Weekly that it could potentially have been the squad that played the Midland Hurricanes. Of course, they couldn't do that because, of course, the likes of Nick Arima is suspended for this one, as we know. But you look at that squad and you think, what happened at that St. Helens game? What on earth? I mean, if that's what can be achieved with their cap restrictions, it just from an outside again looking in, it makes us as neutrals just scratch our heads in terms of what on earth is going on. Why would you have picked a reserve side in that opening fixture when that is the standard of squad that would have been under cap?
Yeah, I called it at the time, Dave. They were saying injuries and stuff. I didn't believe it for a second. Only they will know the truth in that. But for me, it's just not good. But I mean, the past is the past now. I just want to see Salford move on. They're putting a decent squad out here, one more than capable of beating Castleford. So I just hope it's a really good game, this one, to be fair, Dave.
Well, let's hope it is. I mean, look, if Mark Sneed plays, he's 5 points short of 2,500 in his career. That's a hell of a number, isn't it? 2,500 career points, incredible. Essen Masters, he would, if he does play tomorrow night, he's 150 in for his career. A little bit of an interesting one. Nene McDonald has scored a try in each of the Red Devils' last 3 meetings with the Castleford Tigers. So Nene is somebody to keep an eye out on Friday. Hey, look at this, Captain's Run. You don't get this on other podcasts, Mr. Sale. This is analytics of the highest order. I'll tell you right now.
Absolutely.
Classic stuff. Anyway, into the Castleford squad. Great to see number 7, Ron Milnes, back in the squad. He, for me, is what they've been missing, a real game manager. He's got the potential to manage games effectively. The big question is, if Milnes is fit, what do you do at 1? Because Fletcher Rooney does not deserve to be dropped because, arguably, him and unfortunately Jeremiah Simbikin, who will miss this through suspension, him and Simbikin have probably been 2 of their most standout players this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic. It's a good problem for Danny to have, isn't it? That he's got the form players coming back and ones they has to leave out. But I'd be tempted to put one on the bench. That'd be and go with 3 forwards and 1 back on the bench to solve that issue. And then see how they're performing on the night, and then maybe rotate if one isn't doing what I think that's probably the fairest way of doing it. Who that is, again, that's why Danny gets paid the big bucks at Cass, isn't it?
Yep, it is indeed. I thought Rimbu had a couple of nice moments in that last 20 minutes against the Leeds Rhinos last week. So it'll be interesting to see if he can, feed off that and continue his progression, because I thought he had some nice moments, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I think the signings they brought in have probably been the standout players for them. With Sini as well, I think it's been pretty decent for them in the centres. Simbikin, as you've already mentioned, Rimbu, they've all played really well and probably been the better players for Castleford of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more on that. Right. I mean, look, interesting, really, really interesting. We've all gone Tigers. We all agree, though, that squad that Paul Rowley has put forward for this game, providing nobody pulls out lastminute.com, that is good enough to go to Castleford and get the 2 points. Now, this was a real tough one because these are 2 sides that are 3 losses from 3. Where do you focus your attention in terms of a key players or a key battle or something like that? So I thought, you know what? With an average score 19-27, you'd like to think tries are going to be scored. And these 2 players, for me, should deliver tries tonight on this field of play. We saw Senior last week, arguably one of the better tries at Headingley. There was some beauty. Simfields was a good one. The Newman one was a good one. But Innis Seniors was right up there as well. And Dion Cross, I mean, 3 rounds in, not got himself up and running just yet. Tim Lafai, not in that squad. Obviously, we saw a letter. I don't know if you saw it on social media. His daughter had sent him a letter from down under. And he put, maybe it's time to go home. So big question marks. Is Tim Lafai staying at Salford? That's a big question mark. And it's fair to say, I think Lafai has looked like a player that's, is a bit troubled at the moment. He's not been playing with his usual abandonment. And that's affected Dion Cross. So the fact that tomorrow night, Dion will probably have a new centre partner. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see what he can do. We know he's always good coming out of backfield. But even those stats, 134 metres from Dion, that's not his usual standard. He will want to be better. Compare that to Senior. Great try. 393 metres from 46 carries this season thus far. I would expect, obviously, I haven't taken a look at your try scores. We'll do that a bit later. But I do you know what? I would fancy these to be on the score sheet Friday night. Yeah,
definitely. With these quite evenly matched, I think these two players are the ones who could potentially shine, especially both sides decide to play a bit of rugby and distribute. If they do that, then these two should definitely be on the try scoring list.
Yeah, we'd like to think so. Look, it's going to be fascinating. One of these two sides are going to be on 2 points at the end of Friday night, but which one will it be? You're a brave person to go big on this one. But hey, we'll wait and see what will happen. On the other side, though, is box office, absolute box office. Two sides that are unbeaten in the 2025 Betfred Super League. Saints, Hull KR. Nobody can say after this weekend that Saints have played no one. They are going to be going up against last year's grand finalists. And a bit of love for KR as well. Earl, Greg, Joel, they've gone Saints 1-8. Steph, the members and non-members, went the Robins 1-8. I went Saints 9-17. I think Saints at the minute look the real deal, I have to say. History, of course, goes the way of Saints with their history, 23 points to 12. The last 3 meetings, though, KR have come out on top 3 times to Saints 2. And let's not forget, one of those was the highest score they've ever put on Saints, 42 points to 6 at the Totally Wicked last year. It's also the widest margin they've ever had as well. So let's not forget that. That's there for all to see. 3 wins apiece. Tries, we know that Saints 28-13. We know that. Saints have had, but I say that we know that. These have played the same teams. Again, people who are watching, just in case that's passed you by, they have played Wakefield, Castleford and Salford. So these stats are very interesting in that respect. Don't get me wrong, it was a slightly better, and I would say slightly better in terms of what was on the team sheet, Salford, that KR played. But they both played the same. So these are pretty interesting stats to look at. 28 tries to 13. Tackle efficiency slightly better for the Saints. Conversion efficiency pretty even. Penalties 14 to 13. The average score in the last 5 games, 21 points to Saints, 25 points to KR. We should be in for a treat, Steph.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I think it's a great start. They both played the same teams and both won all 3. This has got a classic written all over it, hasn't it? It should be an absolutely belter of a game, and it's going to really show which one of these are a contender for the playoffs, I think. And I know it's early days to say that, but we should get an idea of both teams' squads. Obviously, Mikey Lewis is probably the biggest one. Is he going to be confirmed as playing? Tyrone May as well to come back. I think the biggest loss for KR though is Evalds at fullback. Really intriguing to see who they'll play at fullback. Probably Broadbent, you'd imagine, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tried Hiku there again, which I think might not be the best decision.
No, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. I think Broadbent would probably be the one that I would favour maybe for them to put to full back in this one and leave Hiku where he is. Will he bring back May and Lewis? Would that be too much to do? Obviously, if they're fully fit, then of course he would. But are they fully fit? Will he go both in one go? That'll be interesting to see. But anyway, before we get into the squads, let's see.
Well, potentially, I think we both see ourselves as teams that want to be challenging at the top end of Super League throughout the course of the year. So yeah, in that sense, it's a big game for both teams. Obviously, it is still very early on in the season, but yeah, we're looking forward and we're excited about the challenge of facing a really good team this weekend.
Wellesby has found a channel in which to work, and look who's there in support. Never mind a hat-trick. This is going to be 4.
Yeah, I think it's limiting what he does. To say you're going to stop someone, it's like when you play against Bevan French or you play against Jai Field and individuals, Matt Duffy. To say you're going to stop them is, be great to stop them, but it's probably limiting what they do, because when they ask so many questions, at some stage you can get hurt, but it's limiting what they do to you. But we always go back to, and I say it over and over, but go back to what we can control. And we've got our systems, we've got our principles in place defensively of how we handle certain things. And if we uphold that, then we'll be okay. And we will limit what he does, but certainly got respect for what he's doing. He's a world-class player. There's no doubt about that.
Little dance right from him. Saylor puts the kick towards the corner, and a twist and a touchdown from Harry Robertson.
Oh, absolutely. He's gone to the centres and, from fullback, and he's been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. So, you said before they've got threats all across the park, and he's certainly one of them. So we're not going to just worry about Jack Wellesby. And again, that's where I'll go back to our system and the way we defend. It's a system that, worries about 13 players, not just one. But certainly, I think he's going to be a very, very good Super League player.
So there you go, Willie Peters talking about Jack Wellesby, Harry Robertson and co going into this game. Loads of respect from both coaches. You'd expect nothing more, Steph. This is another, it's in the same category as the Lee Wigan game that opened up the start of the season. This is another box office game between these two. Just the one change for Saints. Knowles is back, which I think is a big bonus for them, because Knowles been in great form, hasn't he, in the first 2 rounds.
Absolutely, yeah. And was it HIA he went off with?
Yes, he was. He was HIA, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So big boost for Saints if he's back in the team, because obviously he has that stability, and he's also obviously a pivot as well for them. So a lot of their attacking play comes through him, linking up with the halfbacks. So real big boost for them. And likewise, if Hulkar can get Lewis back or May, that's a real big boost for those as well. Yeah,
again, disappointing to see that Bill Leyland's out of the squad. He's out. The 3 have come in, of course. Mikey Lewis, Lee Kershaw, Ibiduro, out go Evans, Martin with injury, and Bill Leyland again drops out. I just hope at some point Bill Leyland gets a knock, because he really, I'm just intrigued to see how he goes at this level. I keep saying that time and time again. Will he go out on loan at some point? He's got to get some rugby in him. He had all the last season out at London for injury. Bill needs some game time, so it'd be interesting to see in the next week or two if Bill Leyland finds himself out on loan, Championship maybe.
I think they'll wait, because this Challenge Cup, isn't it, next week? So I think they'll probably use him in the Challenge Cup tie.
Yeah, very, very true. Very, very true indeed. 2 really solid, strong-looking sides. We should be. Harry Robertson. Controversially, some people would say I made him our Player of the Month for the month of February. He's been absolutely incredible in centre, but he's coming up against Oliver Gildart in this one. So Gildart, who we know is a class player, went to the NRL, didn't really work out for him. He's an England international. Let's not forget that. Ollie Gildart, a couple of years back, was probably one of the first picks on the team sheet for England. It's just stuttered a little bit. Just stuttered for him a little bit, but there's undoubted quality in there. This is another test for Harry Robertson.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a real, because we mentioned it on the social actually last night about Robertson, how good he's been. But I did make a point of the centres who he's gone against have not been maybe of the quality he's going to face in this game. So definite benchmark here for him as a player in terms of where he's at, and we'll see whether he is the real deal. I'm sure he is.
Well, we will find out. Look, in these big games, we always say it's down the middle. We've gone down the middle again. These are Alex Walmsley's and JWH's stats. This is a combination. This is a combined stat. across their starting forwards. So they're 4 starting prop forwards this season. So for the Saints, within these statistics is Alex Walmsley, Matty Lees, Parsi, and Delaney. For Hull KR, it's JWH, it's Whitbread, it's I'm racking my head, Jesse Sue, and I think I put Hadley in there because of course because obviously he's the one that tends to deputise at the front. So they're the 4 on each side. Really intriguing tackles. Look at the tackle efficiency of Saints, 97.1%. They have missed as a 4-6 tackles all season.
Wow.
And all 6 have been missed by Matty Lees. So that means Parsi, Delaney, and Walmsley are at 100% tackle efficiency. That's just ridiculous.
That's a crazy stat. Crazy stat. But yeah, phenomenal. And this is why it's going to be such a big encounter for me, this middle, and see what happens with it, because I think it's a clash of the Titans. This, I really do. And that tackle efficiency is just bonkers, isn't it? To not miss a tackle from 3 of your 4 is crazy.
It's unbelievable. And that's, at times when I'm number crunching and looking at stuff, I'm sitting there on my own talking to myself, just going, wow. it's just like unbelievable. And this is what I mean. It's this level of detail. This is why Captain's Run has been developed for this year. We know our members want to get more knowledge about the game and what goes on. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You look right the way down there. On paper, it's advantage St. Helens, 34 busts away, 11 offloads to 3, carries, doing 38 more runs and getting more meters across the first 3 rounds. So, the middle units at the moment, it does look like it's all Saints. That said, this is the first time both sides have come up against a pack that they will fear, because they will both recognise in each other that there is the potential that they could get a bloody nose. So quite frankly, even though the stats are leaning towards Saints, it's the old adage, isn't it? You would expect the Robins to go into this with a little bit more gusto down the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're absolutely right to call it. This is both times that both sides have faced like a really good pack. So again, this is why we keep saying it's going to be a blockbuster. This one, it's going to be, it's just building up to being that kind of game, isn't it? Very forward dominated, and I think whoever wins the middle is probably going to more than likely win the game.
I think so. I mean, in these type of games, I mean, again, that tackle efficiency is massive. In these, as was shown in that first game, Lee against Wigan, it's going to be a war of attrition. There's no doubt about that. I mean, both have got the quality in it to break free. We saw Hull KR demolish Saints last year. We know that Saints this year have got it in them to, if KR for whatever reason aren't on it, it could be a blowout. Both of them could do that. But as a neutral, what you want really is both teams to be on it. Very reminiscent of the KR Wigan game last year, where both were absolutely on it. And it just produced for the neutral a game that was just spine tingling at times. And I think that that's what we could be getting tomorrow night in this one. So wish both teams well. There's nothing better as a neutral, Steph, is there? Of sitting down, watching 2 great sides go toe to toe.
Absolutely. Like I said, Thursday night rugby, Friday night rugby is just as good, isn't it? So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to sitting down and watching this one on TV and just admiring the class on display, Dave.
Absolutely. And then we've got this little beauty on Saturday. And then again, another fascinating game of rugby league between the Catalan Dragons and the Leeds Rhinos. Really interesting game, this one. The predictions: Earl, Greg, members, myself, all going Rhinos 9-17. Joel going Leeds 1-8, and Steph and the non-members going the Dragons 1-8. History on the Rhinos side, 28-19. The last 5 Super League meetings between these two sides have gone the way of the Rhinos 3-2, but we can't forget that within that, if you remember, Leeds went to Perpignan, I think it was not last season, the season before, back end of the season, and got absolutely railroaded. Or was it Catalan that got railroaded? It was Catalan, wasn't it? No, it was Leeds. It was Leeds. Yes, it was. I was right the first time. I don't know why I doubt myself then, but yeah, no, they did very, very well indeed in that game. Form, 2 wins. I mean, after that bad loss at Headingley to Wakey, they bounced back well. That's all they can do. They played for 60 minutes against Castleford. Very good rugby league. Then they fell away. Catalan have been a bit up and down. Let's be honest. Against FC, not great. Then a pretty decent knock against Warrington, and then a bit of both. Lee were brilliant. Actually, no, Lee were brilliant. I mean, Catalan didn't play bad. We've been there and done it. Defensively, they were strong. They just, in attack, again, real poor. And that's there in the stats, 4 tries to 15. Tackle efficiency, very, very even. Conversions, very, very close. It's the penalties, 19-9. That's a big problem if you're a Catalan Dragons fan. You can't be having that. And, of course, what compounds that is that they've been, offloading 52 offloads and a shed load of errors as a consequence of their style. And we said on Weekly, I think Catalan need to rein it in on this one and just do the basics as best they can. And who knows what could happen next.
That's exactly what I would be saying if I was Steve McNamara. You've got to earn the right to play like Catalan are playing, and they're not. That's the thing for me. Yes, it's fine to do what you're doing when you're dominating teams, and defensively you're absolutely sound. Because even if you do make a mistake while you're offloading in your own half, at least defensively, more than likely you're going to be able to thwart that threat. So yeah, that's you've got to get the basics right. And simplify things, especially with these new players that have come in. And then I think they'll start seeing results off the back of that. They've not earned that right yet for me, and hopefully they've learned the lessons because they've been burned 3 times this season already.
Yeah, they've been pretty poor. It's got to be said. They desperately need to perform better. Just a couple of records on the line on this one. Romain Navarrete, he'll be 200 career appearances if he plays. Ollie Partington, 150 for him. Tommy Makinson, 5 points short of 1,500 career points for him. And Jared O'Connor, who we're going to hear from now, is going to be going over the whitewash for the Leeds Rhinos for the 100th time. If you haven't seen it yet, here comes the Steve McNamara press conference.
Well.
Very interesting.
We have to perform really well. We have to put in our best performance of the season. We have to work out how we're going to do that, which we've started, and that's the key for it this week. If you perform well, you give yourself the best chance of winning. If you just focus on winning, you're not going to go through the process that you need to get there. So we understand losing the first 3 games is not a great position for us to be in, but we also was really disappointed with not only the loss last week, but the performance last week. And like I said, if we concentrate on the performance, then I think the wins will look after themselves. You can accept losing when you perform probably the way we did at Warrington. We don't like that, and it's not an ideal situation. We felt we should have won that game, but obviously we travelled back to the same part of the world 7 days later, and we looked a completely different team. We looked a shadow of the team that went to Warrington, and that was the disappointing thing. The fans were disappointed with that first performance here. They'll be disappointed, obviously, that we've not picked up any wins away from home. But at the same time, I know they'll encourage and support the team really well on Saturday night. And we've got a good team. We've got a very good team. I know that. And once we settle down and get into it, which hopefully will start this week, will be very hard to play against and very hard to beat. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, they've certainly changed the dynamics of their team, the way they approach the team, the way they approach the game. Certainly a lot more physical team now than they were 12 months ago, and they'll be a good challenge. They're playing well.
Yeah, very difficult. It wasn't the start we foreseen. Obviously, we've not started the way we wanted. It's very early in Super League, but yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement, and we want to start that this week with a strong performance against Leeds. We've had bad starts in my career, yeah. Many bad starts, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Yeah, it's been a poor start, but we know we can do a lot better. We've got a great team, we've got a good coach and good staff, so yeah, we know we can do a lot better. And yeah, we performed pretty well against Warrington. I thought we was still some way off our best, but we put a good performance. But I just think our performance against Lee was so poor. We just slid right off, and yeah, not just across the board, individually, everyone. It wasn't where we've got to put that right this week. That's just about getting things right as an individual and then coming together as a strong team, which we are. We all know we've got a good team here at Catalan. We've just got to show it. Yeah, I've got the most confidence just for the hard work we've done in pre-season, the individuals, the talent we've got across the pitch. I know, and everyone can see that we haven't started this league off the way we wanted, but I'm so confident, not just in words, that I can see that this team will be a great team. Very good. I think they've got a good coach from the NRL. He's installed a lot of good things about Leeds. I've watched all the games. Pretty difficult to handle, and if you give them time and space, they're a dangerous side. So we've got to be on the top of our game. We've got to play well, which I don't think, bar Warrington, we've not put in a good team performance across the board yet. So if we put in a good performance, we know what we can do. But if we play like we have been doing, it won't be good.
Yeah, well, I think they always get fired up at home, especially on the back of the crowd who gets really into the game. I think they'll be riding them to try and get the first points of the year, and they'll be up for it, and they like to throw a few offloads and that, so we've been preparing for all that and making sure that there's nothing that we won't prepare for. I feel like we've got a lot more squad depth than we've had in the previous years, so as soon as anyone's been injured or been out, we've straight up had someone to replace them, not having to makeshift positions or anything this year. It's just straight swaps, which is obviously really encouraging and a lot less stressful going into the games.
So there you go. You can tell by the answers that were being given to the questions, they kept coming back to the same thing, which suggests that they were getting proper grilled in that press conference for the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, and rightly so as well. When you sign the players like Kotrick and Carey, and Pangai Jr., then the Catalan public are going to expect a decent side. And I completely agree with them that they've not started at all well. But I did disagree with Makinson. I thought they didn't play badly at Leigh.
And McNamara said the same. Yeah. I actually thought, pound for pound, they looked slightly better.
Yeah, it was just their execution at the end. The middles were, on top of Leigh at times. The difference in the game was Leigh executed better when they had their opportunities. But yeah, going back to the original point, it could get very ugly at the weekend if Catalan don't turn this performance around.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong, mate. You're probably not wrong. These are the squads, and there's big changes in there as well. I mean, you can see there for the Rhinos. First of all, we'll do the away team first. Frawley back, Brodie Croft back. Of course, Tom Holroyd will be missing. He's got his 2-game ban. Jared O'Connor, who that's been a massive bonus for Leeds, him coming back so quickly. Good quality professional. There's a lot to like about Leeds. I think we've seen Morgan Gannon's gone well to begin with. Connor's playing. Lockie Miller's in the squad. Would you expect Miller to dethrone Connor? It's pretty hard to think he would.
No, there's no need to at the moment because Connor's playing really well at fullback. But I think you're absolutely right to highlight Jared O'Connor. I think he missed the Wakefield game, didn't he, Jared? But since he's come back, I think they've looked a better team. They've had better go forward. Morgan Gannon's been great since he's come into the side as well. And Riley Lum obviously has had a really good game. He's in the squad for this one as well. I can see there. So yeah, they're gonna potentially cause Catalan quite a few headaches here. And I think this is, like we said before about Hull KR and St Helens being a benchmark for their season so far. I really believe for both of these two clubs, this is a real benchmark for potential playoff opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. We then go across to Catalan. Tompkins back in the squad. Now, we've said if you've got to rely on Sam Tompkins, you really are in trouble. That's a big decision. Did he bring Tompkins back in? Arthur Morg is there as well at 7. I think he needs to play 7. I really do. He needs his hands on the ball. Tavita Pangai Jr. back, of course, missed last week. So Farges is in the squad as well. So all of a sudden, actually now, how fit they all are it would be the ultimate question, but the names are there. The names are on the team sheet. It's not getting much better for the Catalan Dragons than that team sheet at home against Leeds. You heard McNamara there talking about performance. Yes, of course they need a performance, but in the way that Hull FC didn't perform at Huddersfield but snatched 2 points at the death, this is about 2 points, Steph. This is about winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And excuses are going out the window now for Catalan. If you look at that squad, it's 1 to 16 in squad numbers before you have a break. So, obviously there may still be some of those that don't feature this weekend, but it looks like they are starting to return to health. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be naming them in the squad. So for me, that's a massive boost for Catalan. Pangai Jr., that getting him back is obviously going to be massive for them this week to try and cope with like Odleski and the other Palacia.
He'll probably be loose forward again, I would have thought. Palacia, wouldn't
he? Yeah, potentially. Because Cam Smith's not in there, is he? Yeah, so they'll probably will put him at 13 again, which I thought he had a pretty decent game at 13 last week, to be fair to him, given he is a prop. So yeah, it's another. I think all across the board this week, there's narratives in every single game and potentials for all be really good matches.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I completely agree. Tonight's is fascinating. We know we're hoping and praying KR and Saints is a classic. The Castleford-Salford game, both without points. So as a spectacle, as a tight game, you'd expect it to be great. This as well. This has got everything going for it. Really has got everything going for it on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to this one. Again, wonderful tea time fare. That's what we like. That's what we like. Sitting down early evening, get your first beer of the day. Get your whatever your takeaway is. Give the dog a bone, turn the phone off. Fantastic stuff. That's what we want. And it's going to be great. Now, look, if we're going to pick out before we actually go to that, Ben Garcia. What's your thoughts on him at 9? 3 games.
Well, I highlighted this when they named him as the hooker, the 9 this season. I think it's absolutely crazy. Garcia's been one of the best 13s in the competition. Right up there, I'd say, with your Cam Smiths, your Asiatas, your Knowles, right up there with those. Maybe not as high as Ellis is performing at the moment at Wigan, but right up there with me with some of the best 13s. So such a key position as hooker and 13. They're so specialist roles in a squad. When you start to mess around and put those players in different positions, it's still a spine, but they're completely different spine players. And I think it just takes away a lot of Garcia's game for me. I think it's no coincidence that their distribution and their attacking flair has really been snuffed out at the moment. And I think a lot of that comes off the back of what Garcia was doing and the distribution he was giving from 13.
As my old departed grandma once said, you don't take lamb to a Christmas dinner. I mean, unbelievable. I completely agree. At the moment, just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. For me, a hooker is a specialist role. You look at the best 9s in the comp. They live and they breathe 9. That's what they are. They've got Jeslett and Danny Walker, Jared O'Connor, who's in this game. We could go right across the. That's Clark. We just keep naming them. All of these guys. Every now and then, don't get me wrong. Some of those players have got it in him, like a Daz Clark, to play 13 if required. But that's about injuries. If you've got a fully strength squad, there's only one person that started 9 at Saints.
Yeah,
it's Daz Clark. So for me. Yeah, I'm really concerned about Ben Garcia. I know why they've done it. I get why they've done it. Ollie Partington is a great player. He is a great player, great in defence. I mean, that's his strength. That's his game. It's like everything, isn't it? Though, if you've got too much of, if you've got too many pawns left on the chessboard at the end of the game, you're probably going to lose, aren't you? And sometimes you've got too many players, and you're trying to fit them in. It's just not. I don't know.
The big thing for me is 9 is such a key position in terms of you go forward. You look at the likes of Clark, Ipape, players like that. It's your whole offense is based on how quick you can play the ball and that distribution. And it's not his position. He isn't a hooker in the memory of man. And then you take Mickey Mack out of their team. I know he's not going great guns at KR at the moment. But even so, he was an out-and-out hooker who could distribute the ball brilliantly. And when they did bust through with the big middles, beyond that for a quick scoot and get them really on the front foot. I'd not seen that from Garcia at all. And that's not a dig on him. It's just not his position.
No, it's not. It's not. Just wanted to have a little chat about that. Right, I've had to go there. Surely this is the game. This is the game. we had to go here. We had to go here. You know, two arguably sensational standoffs. You know, with Brodie Croft, we know what he's all about. I felt for Brodie. I thought before he got took off against Salford, I thought Croft was really growing into that game. He was looking menacing, and of course, then he of course got his injury. Kiri at the moment, you know, there'll be people who have never seen Kiri, never heard of Kiri because they don't watch the NRL. We have watched the NRL. This guy is box office. He's a class player. At the start of the season, we were saying potential Man of Steel contender.
Yeah,
potential Man of Steel contender. Still could be. You know, we're only 3 rounds in, but he needs to make this his team. He needs to become that leader, and this is where the Tompkins factor comes in. You know, too many cooks. Kiri, for me, has got to start grabbing a hold of this side and dictating the play and showing what he's about, because we know he can do that. And I think this could be the game where these two could potentially shine. And I think if we do, we've got a great game on Saturday, because both of these two players, when they're on it, can break a defence, can, you know, produce a moment of genius, whether that be an offload, a dummy, a pass, a fade, whatever it may be. They've got it in them to really light up Perpignan on Saturday night. It's a matter of time, surely, Steph, before Kiri fires.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is with this is, when you're a halfback, your outside backs needs to have like telepathy with you. They need to know exactly what your game is and what you're going to do. And especially for these players who are so good, they're going to make things happen. But they also need the support play to be there and know that when they're making that pass, that then lead runners are going to be coming through. You know, they're going to have somebody running off the back of that lead runner to the gap. And I think that, for me, is probably where it's not there at the moment for Kiri. I think once the season goes on and those players get used to the way he plays, I think you'll see Catalan's attack start firing a bit more. But, you know, for a player of his quality, we need him to be taking the game by the scruff of the neck, like you said, and really be guiding that team around the pitch. And at the moment, I don't think that's happening. Whether it's language barriers or whatever, you know, there's some reason, or even McNamara not getting the best out of him. You know, that you've got to play to his strengths, and at the moment, you could argue Catalan aren't doing that.
I'm always into the detail. I'll just leave it with this: the Tommy Makinson interview. We've got great players. We've got a good coach. Now, for me, you know, you might say, "Oh, come on, you're going too far." I'm a great student of communication and language. Was that a slip? Was it not? I don't know. But we've got great players and we've got a good coach.
Yeah, but it's like Lamb says at Lee, winning takes care of everything. And then the reverse of that is losing causes you lots of problems, and starts going into maybe trying to find problems where there aren't problems. So this is where, you know, the jungle drums start beating, and unrest can form in camps. Like I say, I think they're only a win away from turning it around, and they've got the players to do it. And this, if they could get a win over Leeds at home, their crowd will get right behind them again. And I think that's what it needs. I think it's a crucial match for Catalan, this, and it could have big ramifications should they be on the wrong end of a big result.
Sheridan's there, isn't he?
Yes.
I'm just going to leave that out there. Because when he was at Warrington, you know, there wasn't many people who fancied Ryan Sheridan, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well. He's got form of not very good teams, hasn't he?
Well, exactly that. You know, exactly that. And big problems at Catalan. You would not want to be in that stadium if Leeds did a number on him on Saturday, because it is big.
He'll not be doing an in-conversation with us after that.
Well, I call it straight. I'm just saying, you know, mate, there's links. There's links. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, time's running on. We've still got 2 games to go, but it's a great captain's run. Right, let's get to the Halliwell Jones Stadium as Wakefield come to town. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look at these stats. So history, the way of the wire, 36-21, but look at the last 4 Super League meetings. Of course, they've been down to the Championship. He's got no bearing on this game, but it is interesting. Bit of a bogey team at Wakefield, where Warrington are concerned. 4-1. And let's not forget, it was against Wakefield that Darryl Powell lost his job for Warrington Wolves. Darryl Powell returning to the wire. The form guide: 2 wins for the wire, 1 loss, 1 win, 2 losses for Wakey. The average score in the last 5 meetings between these two: Wakefield 28, Warrington 19. Incredible. The tries thus far this season: 11-6 in Warrington's favour. Tackle efficiency couldn't be closer. Conversion, got to give a lot of credit to Josh Fulis at the weekend. 4 kicks from 4, some of them from very difficult positions, and Adam Kieran 8 from 8. Some tremendous kicking on show in Vegas from those two. Penalty count: 10 Warrington, 18 to Wakefield Trinity. Predictions going across the screen: Earl and myself going wire 1-8. We saw it close. Greg and the members going Trinity 1-8, and then the rest going wire 9-17. Have those stats changed your mind? Any on your 19-17 prediction, Steph?
No, I think the based on what I'm predicting, I do see a Warrington win. There's lots of ifs in that, in terms of if we're going to get a reaction based on the Vegas result. If Sam Burgess is the coach we all believe he is, then this should be a dominant win, especially at home. I think the key things there are conversions. Even if Wakefield are scoring, half of the time they're not making it 6 from just keeping the 4. So that's a big one. But also the penalties that they're conceding. For Wakefield to be challenging with the top 6 side, they need to be really clean in the game, not giving away silly penalties that are going to gift Warrington position. So that's the only thing that's going to concern me about Wakefield. If they can keep that penalty count down, this game could be a lot closer than what people are predicting, including myself. But there again, it's a big if. It's a massive game for Wakefield. If they could get 2 points here, well, wow, then you've got to say that they are potential playoff contenders, haven't you?
And there'll be big questions over the wire. Warrington have not really said an awful lot. I will give you some inside information on Warrington though in a moment. But let's hear from the Wakey side.
My last year at Wakey is on my contract, so yeah, just for me personally, obviously wanting to have a big year this year. I'm not sure what I'll end up next year, but if it did won my last year, you know what I mean, I'd like to have a big one for the club. I've enjoyed every minute of it being here. So yeah, just personally, I'd like to try and have a great season.
There'll be a couple. Tommy Doyle struggling, so there'll have to be a change there.
So no Tommy Doyle. And Liam Hood there talking about what potentially more than likely will be his last year as a Trinity player. He's been a good pro for him, hasn't he? As Liam Hood, of course, no formal teams at this moment in time. Was 24 hours out from that. But Hoody's been a good pro for Wakey, and again a specialist 9.
Absolutely, yeah. He was ex-Lee player. He was fantastic when he was at Lee. Big admirer of Liam. Solid player. Hard as nails. Real. Does all the hard work for them. His tackling is brilliant, but also, like we were saying about Garcia, that this is someone who's similar stature to Garcia, but actually can run the ball and scoot it, and gets Wakefield on the front foot. So key player for Wakefield, Liam Wood. And when he plays well, Wakefield play well.
Right, some inside information. The Warrington left edge has been decimated pre-Vegas. There'll be no Matty Ashton. There will be no Toby King. And it's unlikely that Lachlan Fitzgibbon will play. So the complete left edge of Warrington has returned in bad feckle. That is out of this side. Roderick Ty has been recalled from Widnes, is likely to feature in the place. There will possibly be a debut for Alfie Johnston, or it could be Jake Fulis. The two Fulis boys might be on the same pitch at the same time, is what we're hearing. Maybe Adam Holroyd will also feature in this. So the left edge could have a very youthful complexion to it, Mr. Sale. I go back to my first question. Now I've given you that little bit of inside information. Has that changed your mind at all on your 1917 wire?
Well, it's two massive attacking threats in King and Ashton. That's Warrington's strike, isn't it? So that does change things definitely. But as we saw at Lee with injuries, the young players coming in need to take the chance, and this is their opportunity to come and show what they're made of. Lindop is another one who I expect to have a really big game this weekend. So yes, it's not ideal for Warrington to lose 3 players in the same side of the pitch is by on disaster for a lot of clubs. But Warrington have got the quality to bring them in, and Ty has done nothing wrong for me in a Warrington shirt. He's been solid defensively, which I think is probably the key part to that change. So yeah, but it just adds a bit more intrigue into this one, doesn't it?
It does, and you're right. Ty had a really good 2024. He's just been unlucky, the emergence of Aaron Lindop. I think Aaron Lindop, across the first 3 games, has been steady away from Warrington. He is still learning. He is still progressing. We know that. But he's a great player. He's a great player. Right, that will mean, of course, that more pressure will be on the number 1. This has to be the big one out the back for both sides. Max Jowett, Matt Duffy. These two, for me, absolutely vital in this game for both sides' chances of winning, both in brilliant form. I mean, yet again, Duffy last year, highest meter maker in Super League, and his stats were through the roof. He started where he's left off last year. Brilliant try against Wardle. I mean, that's Jake Wardle that he went round. Incredible. Absolutely incredible try. Yes, Warrington were well beaten, but that was if you're going to score a try on the edge of Wardle and Marshall like that, that was very nice indeed from Matty Duffy. 2 assists, 21 busts, 4 breaks, 66 carries, 597. Only Liam Marshall has done more. Duffy, incredible. Jowett started again really well. He was exceptional in the championship last year. Got a couple of tries. He's got an assist. Good stats. Against most other, dare I say it, fullbacks in and around him, those stats would stack up. But against Duffy, he doesn't look like he's having a good year, but he is.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about Duffy because Duffy speaks for himself. And he has picked up where he left off last year in terms of Man of Steel form for me. So I don't think we need to discuss Duffy. We know what we're going to get from him in this game. Jowett, brilliant first 2 games for me. Absolutely outstanding. Against Leeds especially, I thought he was, probably the best player on the park or not far off it. Against Saints, wasn't his best performance. He needs to link up better with Johnson, but I thought Johnson had a bit of a nightmare in that Saints game compared to what we know Tom Johnston can do. He'll be looking for a big performance this week to rectify the wrongs of last week, but Jowett needs to link up with him as well in terms of that left edge and feeding off the back of Lino and Truman. So if Wakefield are to do well in this game, we need a massive performance from Max in this one. And I'm sure he's capable of delivering it.
And Johnston can't have a game like he did against Saints again. I mean, it's unthinkable that he could have a poor game like that again. So, yeah, there's no doubt about it. Wakey will be buoyed by the fact that, when they hear that news, if they haven't heard it already, that, those key Warrington players are going to be missing for this one. But it is next man up. Sam Burgess has said it throughout his time at Warrington. He has got a lot of confidence in the likes of Holroyd. Alfie Johnson, against Widnes in pre-season, looked a player. He's a tall lad. He's a quick lad. He's got a bit about him. Be interesting to see if he gets his shot. Of course, he'll be on Lachlan Walmsley's side. So that'll be an interesting one. I thought Walmsley had a really gritty performance against Saints. I'm really liking Lachlan Walmsley at Wakefield this season. It's a very, very interesting fixture indeed. Bit of love for Wakey. There's a bit of love for Wakey going into this one. Warrington need to quiet down some critics. If they was to lose this Warrington, wow, the amount of banter that will be floating about on Sunday night, perhaps even on the Final Whistle podcast, could be quite interesting indeed. Right, we'll end off with this one, of course. Wigan Warriors taking on Huddersfield Giants at the Brick Community Stadium. Huddersfield have got a task on here. 43-17 in history. Looking at the last 5 meetings, 5-0 Wigan. It's a real tough one. This one to see anything from Huddersfield. Let's hear from Luke Robinson first, and then we'll have a chat.
This is not their first rodeo. This is what they do for the last 3 years. They've just what they've done. They're playing Challenge Cup finals. They back up. They're playing Grand finals. No, they don't back up after a grand final, but they played World Cup Challenger after that, and that's in the season. They back up. This isn't new for them. It's something we're expecting a very good Wigan team. I'm expecting it to be a bit of a party atmosphere. They're coming back from over in Vegas. First game at the stadium. we're expecting a little bit of a party atmosphere. Them a bit of a celebration. I liken it a little bit to like the old Easter fixtures. You generally don't feel it until sort of 2 or 3 games afterwards. You're still on a bit of a high. You're still sort of, the adrenaline still pumping. It's normally 2, 3, potentially even 4 weeks after that you feel a little bit of a hangover for it. So, look, we're expecting the best Wigan side. They're an unbelievable side. They've got threats throughout the squad, and we're expecting the best of them. Do I expect and do I want us to go there and win? Yes, I do. Do I think we've still got a team capable of doing it? Yeah, we do. We're getting 2 points. The performance that we put out against Hull were brilliant, really. For a vast majority of it, we just stumbled in the last 10 minutes and made some really, really bad errors and some sort of bad judgments, and which the players know about, and they've held their hand up and sort of said, yeah, look, we could have handled them a little bit different, would have won the game, but I didn't feel like Hull were getting out of their half, really. I felt like we defended really good, so if we can do the same things this week, attack with a little bit more potency, get a little bit more potency with his attack, a little bit more game management, I think we'll put ourselves once again in a good position.
So there you go. We'll try again. So there you go. Luke Robinson in his press conference. I think he's actually wrote letters to Father Christmas, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny going into this one. So I've heard, which is interesting to say the least. And actually, listen to Uncle Luke, you Salford fans, because in 3 rounds' time, it's you where it will kick in the Vegas. So a bit of good news for Salford. They might hit Wigan at the right time, according to Mr. Robinson. Huddersfield Giants fans, turn off now is what I would say. If you haven't seen the press conference, you're not going to like what I'm about to say. Good news, Adam Clune is set to return. Liam Sutcliffe looks like he is in line for a debut. And Tane Milne could play in this. That's the good news. The bad news, Joe Greenwood out for 6 weeks. Joe's been in great form. But it gets a lot worse. Zach Wolford's out for 8 to 10 weeks. He's going under the knife with an ankle injury. So that's disaster if you're Luke Robinson. Yes, you're getting the likes of Clune, Sutcliffe and Milne back, Steph. But Wolford and Greenwood have arguably been maybe two of the top 3, maybe 4 players this season for Huddersfield, and they're both going to be missing pretty much for the next couple of months.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with both of them. I think Wolford's been brilliant for them. I was just about to say, the body language of Luke Robinson there was not a man who's lost 3 games. He's very positive, and and I think he's earned the right to be like that, because I don't think Huddersfield have been bad. They've been in every game they've played in, and I think that's why he's not quite doom and gloom. But he's not getting any of the rub of the green, is he? And neither are the Giants fans. I mean, they are going through a crisis in terms of injuries. And it's 1 step back. 1 step forward, 2 steps back at the moment, isn't it? In terms of the injury front for them. So my heart goes out to the Huddersfield fans, because they've got a team there. They have got a good squad. And when they're all fit, then they're going to cause some teams some problems. But it's just getting everybody on the park. It's just so frustrating for the Giants.
Could it be too little too late? Joel was saying that, wasn't he, in pre-season, where he just said, by the time they get the troops back, will it be too little too late? I mean, you're right. I mean, defensively there, the great Wigan Warriors, 91% tackle efficiency. Luke's at 90.2. Defensively, there's a lot to admire about Huddersfield in those first 3 games. They've been in the grind. They've been having a go. They're coming up against the Wigan side that I think will freshen. I'd be very surprised if we didn't see a couple left out. I think this has got Farriman written all over it. I think that's a real possibility. I think Zach Eckersley could come in for this one as well. Maybe some others, but those 2 definitely for me. I'd be very surprised if they weren't playing. People will now be asking Steph, go on then, Dave. What are you giving us now? What's the key matchups? Well, look, guys, bottom line is, you would probably have had to be Marty McFly with a sports almanac to see Huddersfield winning this one. You know, if you were going to back Huddersfield in this, there's something back to the future about you. There has to be. So, like we did last week when we said, how did Castleford beat Leeds? And we said, you know, these are three. It didn't happen that way, but it was the only way I could see them doing it. The only way that I think Huddersfield can do this, and I've picked this out, discipline in defence. It's the only way they can do it. Now, the completed sets is 87% across the first 3 rounds, which isn't bad. That needs to be that needs to be within 9. Has to be. They have to respect the ball. They can't be giving away cheap field position. They've got to complete and kick well.
87's pretty good, though.
It is pretty good, but what I'm saying is, for me, I'd want that within 9. I really would. If you're going up against Wigan here, you're not going up against Wakey, you're not going to get Cash, you're going up against Wigan. You've got to respect the ball, you've got to complete your 6, and you've got to kick well. That's the first thing you've got to do. That's the first thing you've got to do. Second thing, 114 missed tackles. Now, we've said the tackle efficiency is over 90%. That's good going. The thing about their tackle efficiency, however, it has been getting worse. They missed 28 tackles against the wire. That increased to 40 against Lee, and it was 46 against FC. They have to reverse that. They have to be as good as they were against Warrington. If they're not as good as they were against Warrington in defence, again, that's a massive problem. It's a huge problem. 25 errors. The good news is that's been getting better. 10 against the wire, 9 against Lee, 7 against FC. That trend needs to continue. They need to limit their errors. So again, this comes back to discipline and defence. This comes back to respect the ball, finish your sets, kick well. They do that, they've got a chance. The only way they're beating Wigan is if they can keep the score low. Huddersfield Giants, it's unlikely for me they're going to score more than 2 tries. That's why they've got to keep it low. They've got to be defensively strong. If they're not defensively strong, they're in a lot of. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. And then finally, you know, penalties, 17 for the season thus far. They need these. This is all I could pull out because everything points to a Wigan win. But if this is what they achieve, if they can look at these elements that have gone through now, and make the necessary improvements in those areas, they might just get themselves again in an arm wrestle position where they could nick it. If any two of these things are out of kilter, they're gone. They're not winning this game. One, interesting. But I think for me, Steph, it was the only thing I could pull out that give Huddersfield any chance. They've got to be very, very clean and good in these areas.
Yeah, and I think you could probably say the same for most teams in Super League. It's not a Huddersfield thing. I'd look at it more as, you know, how good Wigan are at the moment. They didn't bring anybody in of note last season for a reason. This season from last season for a reason, because the squad is so good. And I think I said, you know, it's like you take French and Field out and put Eckersley and Ferryman in. It's like your pub swapping Madrid for San Miguel. There's not much difference. It's not like, you know, your pub's chucking Carlin in this game kind of thing. So that's not going to benefit Huddersfield. In a strange way, it could have the opposite effect because those 2 players know they have to perform. Otherwise, they're not getting a sniff in this Wigan team. So they could be even more dangerous, as daft as that sounds, to have those 2 players coming in. But like I say, it's not a Huddersfield thing. Most teams in the league going to Wigan are going to come up against the strongest side in Super League. So you're going to have to do something extraordinary to beat them, especially on the home turf. It's a daunting task for Huddersfield. But those injuries on top of where they're already at is just probably too daunting for me to even give them a sniff.
Yeah, all I would say to Luke Robinson is stop driving past that cattery on the way to training, mate. Those black cats that are going past your car, mate, not good at all. You need to be looking at the, stop counting magpies. Whatever you're doing, mate, you've got to look at that because Lady Luck at the moment, my friend, is not he's not smiling on you. Good luck is what we would say to our Cowbell Army friends out there. And don't
you never know. Miracles sometimes happen. Miracles sometimes happen.
They do indeed, and we wish them nothing but the best. Look, right, we end Captain's Run, as always, with this.
Are you sick and tired of winning your bets every week? Want to contribute to the bookies' Christmas party? The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Stef.
Right then, go on then, Mr. Sale. What have you got for us this week?
Yeah, so on weekly we had our handicap bets for the 5 games that Bet365 were giving odds for. Obviously, the Salford one wasn't included. They're going across the screen at the moment. So if you fancy jumping on that handicap, you can get into it that way. These are my anytime try scorers accumulator for this week. And this is probably the most confident I've been with my prediction. The others have been terrible. They've not come anywhere close. This week, this one, I'm really confident with. So, obviously, how could I not put Amaya Hanley in after his performance last week? 3 tries, going against Hull FC, who've leaked points this season against the better sides. I think he's going to be key. If they're going to get a victory tonight, I think he could be one that gets over the whitewash. You'd be a fool to bet against Amaya with the form he's in at the moment. Like Dave mentioned earlier, Dion Cross, we didn't get together before this, but I just feel if Salford are going to do anything at Castleford, if they start to click, which we're all praying that they do for the good of the game, then Dion Cross has got to be a try score for him. They've got to get it out to that left edge, use that threat. Obviously, Lafay is not going to be playing there. I don't think he was in their squad, was it? So it'd be key to get that left edge sorted if they're going to score points. So I'll put Dion Cross in there. And obviously, Joe Burgess, try scoring machine. Whether there's going to be a lot of tries at Saints KR, I don't know, but I just feel if KR are going to score, that left edge for them again is potent. And I think if Mikey Lewis plays, Joe Burgess scores a try. So the total lacquer on this one, if you bet all those 3, is 21.39. So that means, Dave, if you bet £1,
you probably lose a pound, Mr. Sale, based on your form this season. But I have to say, let's not forget that beautiful try that Joe Burgess scored at the Saints last year. It was a thing of absolute beauty, is what I would say. But no, do you know what? A lot of value in that. Dion Cross and his senior, I don't know what the value is in Innis. You could maybe go 1 or 2 ways with that one. I think Hanley at 3.1.
3-1.
That's it.
That's printing money. Should be printing money, that.
Based on his form.
Joe Burgess 3 as well. I mean, to be fair, to return nearly 22 from 3 players to score a try, and especially considering they're all centre and 2 wingers.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic value. But again, it takes a lot to get 3 in one go. So we'll see.
It does. So there you go. Another brilliant 3 try scores there from Steph. Look, hey, guys, you're literally 13 minutes from the Sky broadcast starting this evening. We've took you right the way up to it this week. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Captain's Run. We hope that this is fastly becoming a fixture in your weekly diary to get home, to get in front of the TV, to watch us on Captain's Run before the Sky production kicks in at 7:30. Steph, as always, I think that's been a really good tour of the grounds. I think we've had a good discussion about some key battles, and I think we pulled out some brilliant stats as well today, I have to say.
100%, mate. But what I do have to say, we need to cut this off now because I'm going for a beer and watching this classic of a game.
Ladies and gentlemen, from me and from Steph, we'll see you next week on the Captain's Run. Enjoy your rugby league. And don't forget, of course, the final whistle will be available for you on Monday morning. And In the Sheds will be started tomorrow. Bye for now.